is discuss the reversal of ocean currents between winter and summer in the northern Indian Ocean. This was a direct question from NCERT, and most of you have not done this question very appropriately. In fact, a lot, marks like 1, 1.5, 2, that's what has been given to most of you, even though this is directly from NCERT. So the content is there. I'll briefly explain in the class as to what are the basic differences. Now you will find that in summers we have southwest monsoon. Under the influence of southwest monsoon, there is a movement of ocean currents from west to east. The whole North Indian circulation exists in the form of movement of ocean currents from west to east. Since there is movement of ocean currents from west to east, the north equatorial current, which usually exists in other ocean you have got circulation, clockwise circulation in northern hemisphere and anti-clockwise circulation in southern hemisphere with counter equatorial current in between. Now here, since there is movement of ocean current from west to east, north equatorial current is obliterated, it vanishes. There is no north equatorial current in the North Indian Ocean, where southern Indian Ocean circulation is as it is. Now the basic purpose of the counter equatorial current is to balance the water amount of water. As in, there is piling up of water on the western side of the ocean, and this piled up water flows as counter current to north as well as south equatorial current. Now here you see the difference in the Indian Ocean. There is already a movement of water from west to east, and in the southern part there is movement of water from east to west. So there is no need for balancing the amount of water, the quantum of water on the eastern and the western side of the ocean. So there is no counter equatorial current at this time of the year. So there are two major differences in the summers. Now let's go to winters. In winters we have northeast trades. Under the influence of northeast trades, the ocean current will move from east to west. Okay. Now since this motion is in the form of east to west, and since the water in the southern Indian Ocean is also moving from east to west, there is a need for balancing, compensation of water. So counter equatorial current does exist at this time of year. There is no difference in this. But when you combine these two circulations, the circulation under the northeast trades and the counter equatorial current, you have got an anti-clockwise circulation as against clockwise circulation generally. You have anti-clockwise circulation in winters as against clockwise circulation generally in other oceans. So this is another major difference. Now, this circulation does not exist as a unicellular mechanism or as a single cell mechanism. There is a separate circulation in Bay of Bengal, there is a separate circulation in Arabian Sea because of the Indian Peninsula. So this is another difference. Fine. So these are the four major differences in the North Indian Ocean. Just mention these aspects. And this is given in your content, so when you go and revise, you'll understand it. Any doubt? Now move on to question number 22. This is again another factual question, but you need reorientation in the answer. The question is, large population of India can be attributed to capacity of its diverse soil types to furnish adequate food. What are the major soil types that contribute to significant crop production in India? This question does not comprise two parts. The first part is merely a statement and the second part is the question. Yet the first part sets a context to this question. And a lot of question in civil services, you will find the context being set in the first statement and the question is mainly in the Second statement. Now, since you have got this statement in the form of context, briefly deal with that statement and then go on to mention the or deal with the question in the context of first statement. So most of you have mentioned various soil types. That is not wrong. You will fetch 4 marks, 4.5 marks if you have written very good, but you will not go beyond that because you have not dealt with the context. The context is the kind of soil that India possesses encourages huge or high crop production, due to which large population is possible in India. Now when you see India or percentage of cultivated land in India and compare this with other parts of the world, in India nearly or more than half of the total geographical area is cultivated, as compared to say USA, which has got 1/6, or say USSR, which has 1/11 or 1/12. Compare it with China, which has again got around 1/10 of its area is cultivated. So even though these countries are very large, very huge, if you see the total quantum of arable land, cultivated land, which made the population initially possible, say 1000 years back possible, is very less in other countries as compared to India. Normally, we as children complain that India has got so less area and we have got so huge population. The reason is that even though we have got very small area, we have got high proportion of cultivated land. If you compare the quantum of cultivated land, only USA has got more cultivated land than, I'm talking in terms of quantum. USA has got around 16.5 lakh square kilometers of cultivated land, whereas India has 15.5 lakh square kilometers of cultivated land. China has 15 lakh or something less than that. So you have to show that the percentage of cultivated land in India is very high, or proportion of cultivated land is very high as compared to the other countries, which has made the large population possible. Then go on to mention that in this context, the various soil types which we have in India is either inherently fertile or fertile with slight addition of fertilizer. And again then deal with alluvial soil. You will find that alluvial soil is deficient only in nitrogen. So nitrogenous fertilizer is sufficient, which can be sourced from natural sources, and which has been sourced from natural sources for a long period of time. Then you go on to red soil. Red soil to significant crop production. I'll tell you what significant crop production comes from: mainly 3 soil types: alluvial, black soil and red soil. So you need to deal only with these 3 major soil, along with their characteristics like nutrients, water retentivity, etc., etc. All the characteristics are given. Fine. So after you have dealt with this, your question or your answer is complete. Mention the crops also. Yes. Plains. Now again, the contents have been given elaborately in your answer sheets. We'll discuss structure and a few additional aspects. Start with general introduction of North Indian Plain, or introduction of North Indian Plain, which is like 3200 kilometers from Sindh Delta to Ganga Delta, 300 kilometers, 250-300 kilometers wide, or 350 kilometers wide in the western part, 150 kilometers wide in the eastern part. General introduction. Start with general introduction, then go on to mention various zones. What are these zones? In the northernmost part we have Babar, then Tarai, then alluvial plain. In alluvial plain you have Khadar and Bangar. Fine. When you mention these 4 things, just briefly introduce them. Like when the rivers descend from the mountain, the kinetic energy reduces appreciably. Thus they drop the pebbles and gravels at the foothills of mountain, forming a continuous gravelly pebbly plain known as Babar. After passing that plain, it emerges in a region of swamps, which is known as Terai. So go on mentioning like this. One sentence is, you might say that how can we mention all these aspects? Yes, you can. Briefly mention. Now he said that whether paragraph or point wise, I'll tell you what if you have to mention this aspect, better mention in paragraph. Why? A lot of space will be saved. In point, if the line is half finished, you are left with space. So it's always more beautiful to write in paragraphs. Plus, here the paragraph is more efficient. So here you have to write in the form of paragraph. Khadar is old alluvium. Khadar is new alluvium. Bangar is old alluvium. If you have to draw a brief or basic diagram, yes, you'll understand with this diagram. Now this is river valley, and whenever you go on either side of the river valley, you will ascend slightly in any river valley, in any area. If you are from UP, Bihar, or any place of India, in fact any place of the world, you will have, as you move away from the river valley, you will go on a higher slope. So this slope might be many more slopes. Fine, this is an exaggerated diagram, so just for your understanding, but you will go on a higher plane as you move away from the river valley. Now, not every year flooding is caused on the whole part, in the whole plains. Normally flooding occurs in the river channel, the very narrow river channel as compared to the whole plain, or the whole flood plain, the general extent of flooding. So in this area, new alluvium keeps coming regularly, every year, twice, or every 2 year, or 3 or 4 year. So you have got Khadar. On a still higher slope, where there is old alluvium, you have got Bangar. So this is how Bangar and Khadar is separated. Now you will find that this slope of Bangar comprises many small slopes, micro slopes you call it. As I say, there are many slopes. So these micro slopes of Bangar are known as coals. So this is additional aspect you can mention, that there are coals. There are many micro slopes of Bangar which are known as coals. Now there are additional features you find in certain parts of the North Indian plain. You will find that on the eastern side of the Ganges, particularly in Uttar Pradesh, on a still higher level, on a still higher uplands, you have got sandy soil, which is not Bangar, which is not Khadar. Those are sandy soils because it's very old. It's not adequately denuded. So such uplands, the soils on such uplands are known as Bhur soils. Bhur soils are nothing but sandy uplands. Then you have got additional features like ravines, where the Gambhir river meets. In fact, there was a question this year in PT. There was some question regarding eastern side of I don't remember, some wetland was mentioned. So where Gambhir meets, it is in different context. Wetland context of wetland. So in that area only, you have got a lot of ravines where the Gambhir river meets the Yamuna. So on eastern banks of Yamuna, where the Chambal meets Yamuna, both between Chambal and Gambhir. So both these rivers meet. In between these two rivers, you have got ravines. Similarly, you have chos, which are ravine-like features created by short, rapid streams coming down from Shivaliks in Haryana and Punjab. So you have chos. Similarly, you can mention Rar Plains in West Bengal, Rar Plains in West Bengal, Dwars of West Bengal. So these are the features you can mention. These are the additional features you can mention. You can mention Bihar Plain, which is nothing but cones formed of cones and intercones. So Bihar